This episode of Kind of Funny Gamescast is brought to you by Blue Apron. Blue Apron's the #1 fresh ingredient and recipe delivery service in the country. The mission's to make incredible home cooking accessible to everyone. Not all ingredients are created equal. Fresh, high-quality ingredients make a real difference. So it's important to know where your food comes from. For less than $10 per person per meal, Blue Apron delivers seasonal recipes along with pre-portioned ingredients to make delicious home-cooked meals. Greg Miller, you might know him from his, world-renowned Instagram series, Cooking with Greggy, is all about this Blue Apron goodness. Check out this week's menu and get your first 3 meals free with free shipping by going to blueapron.com/Gamecast. No S, just Gamecast. You'll love how good it feels and tastes to create incredible home-cooked meals with Blue Apron. So don't wait. That's blueapron.com/Gamecast. Blue Apron, a better way to cook. Cooking with Greggy, man. He's good. He makes good stuff. Final topic of the day, as always, brought to you by you. You can go to kindoffunny.com/Gamescast topic, just like Jeezy did. Woo! After the Switch announcement, I noticed Bomberman is going to be a launch title. I love the series and haven't played one in over 15 years. However, Konami's attached to the game. What do you normally do in these types of situations where your love for the game is conflicting with your decision to support a company that appears to have done unethical stuff?
I mean, put your money where your mouth is. If you want. I mean, Bomberman R is not going to be this is not going to light the world on fire anyway, so I'm not sure you're going to have much of an effect on it. But this is what I've said over and over again. If this is a good time for you to take your stand, the Metal Gear Zombie game is going to be the real interesting barometer of that. But
I haven't heard about that game in forever.
I wonder why.
It's almost like they didn't have anything. They were trying to change this conversation. Weird.
Yeah. But this is a great time to put your money where your mouth is, and I don't think there's any shame. You're not going to miss. I mean, Bomberman R is going to be fun, but it's not going to be like this game-changing kind of situation. I promise. There's no such thing as a Bomberman game in which it's gonna be like this mind-altering kind of situation. No offense.
Yeah, I had a great time with Bomberman R playing it, and it's weird because as I was playing, I looked up and I saw the Konami thing, and it did give me a moment of like. Yeah. But that's not going to stop me from supporting this game because it is such a convoluted structure of where that team goes all the way up to. This game has nothing to do with the people I don't like. I don't even know who the people I don't like are. I just know that I like certain people.
They run fitness clubs.
And then they're,
Pachinko machines.
Yeah, fuck that shit, right? Yeah. But it's like, this is a totally different thing where it's like, I do support Bomberman. If I'm going to bitch about Bomberman not being in Super Smash Bros., which I'm one of those guys, like, I need to support this type of shit, Yeah. I like getting more mascot character-y driven games like that, and I love the nostalgic retro 90s characters. So I'm like, I got to put my money where my mouth is in supporting what I like, despite the fact that it's going to a company that I don't necessarily agree with what they do.
Sure.
But I do feel like you just need to kind of speak with your wallet, but think about all the ways that that's affecting the situation.
I'll see what Kijima says and decide on that.
Yeah.
If he gives me the thumbs up, tweet him about Bomberman.
I think he's a little burned on the Switch right now.
He'll be like...
Yeah, because he's not as good as me. Bomberman falls in this giant hole.
That GIF is so amazing. That Miyamoto GIF is just like one of the greatest things of all time.
He's the best.
It's fantastic.
Remember when we... God, at IGN, didn't we... I don't know if it was a joke or we wrote that like
a joke.
Yeah, we didn't have it like pre-written, right? Like a newspaper would with like Miyamoto's, the death of Miyamoto.
I think that was a joke when we were arguing about what we do journalism and all this stuff. And I think we were like, we don't have Miyamoto's obituary ready to go. It's not like how you have it for all these famous people. Like at any time you could pull it out.
My first E3, so it must have been 2009. I won the contest, whatever. I got to go there. As I'm there, I saw Miyamoto, and Miyamoto, one of the few people that would be walking around with any type of security. Yeah. Keep in mind, not security. He's just walking around with dudes, right? And I'm like, it was the year that they like were really going hard on the Kinect. And I was like, I want to try this thing. So I remember standing in line, and then Miyamoto walks up and like cuts us because it was like, it's fucking Miyamoto, right? And most people aren't noticing that it's him, but obviously I'm like, I look over at Alfredo, I'm like, that's fucking Miyamoto.
And Alfredo's like, who?
And I'm like, I'm going to touch him. And I was like, I see that he has security, but fuck this. This is my story. I'm doing it for the story, right? Do it for the gram before Instagram existed. And yeah, I just went, slid my hand through, touched him, moved it off.
Did he
That's my story. Yeah, he just kind of turned, and that was it. And I just kind of like nodded at him, and that was it. So that's my Miyamoto story. I didn't have a battle plan after that. I just wanted to touch him.
Why didn't you just say hi? You could have introduced. You said hi. Like,
could at least give him a hand job or something.
No, yeah, exactly. It was a whole. Like I didn't just like touch him and just like weirdly back off.
Yeah.
As I touched him, and I was just like, I don't know what I did, but I acknowledged
You bowed.
him. He acknowledged me.
Okay.
And like I walked away. I mean, it was super awkward. I'm even now awkward when I'm dealing with different cultures and shit. I didn't know if bowing's a good or bad thing at that point. I'm like, I'm just gonna.
Well, that's the thing.
Japan,
maybe. Hella awkward.
We talked about Kijima last week or whatever, and one of the stories I didn't say from RTX City is when we were walking over to the convention center for rehearsal day. We were walking this big group of it was me, him, his translator, his people, a couple RTX Sydney people, and they were trying to do like a loose perimeter kind of thing, but Kijima just kept going over and taking photos of stuff and coming back, and so we were all just walking and talking and hanging out. And as we were walking, this kid, I mean, our age or whatever, probably a little bit younger, one best friend age, was just like, "Oh my God, hey!" And he said it with such confidence, and then ran over, like came at him from like your angle, touched Kijima on the shoulder, and was like, "Hey man, how you?" Like blah blah blah, and I was like, does he fucking know him? And like Kijima pulled away, and finally like people were like, "Wait, do you know?" And like they kind of did the wall, and I was like,
"That's weird."
Damn, like that's
Confidence,
a ballsy,
dude.
bold
Gets you in
fucking
anyway.
move.
Don't put your arm around people.
Yeah, don't go that
and don't
far.
touch wrestlers at Comic
That's
Con.
bad. And don't put your arm in between security to touch a man that doesn't know you or do. But yeah, no, that was my Miyamoto moment. Same E3 we went over was when they unveiled the 3DS. So I was playing with that motherfucker, and they had the Star Fox 64 demo, and I was super stoked about it. And then I look up, and I'm like, that's fucking Sakurai. That's the director of Smash Bros. I owe this man my fucking life. And he's just over there playing whatever 3DS game. It wasn't even his game. It was just some other shit. And I'm like,
trying it out, see what's
I
up.
need a picture with him. And then I asked Alfredo I gave him my phone. I'm like, dude, I need a picture. And I like started talking to him. Does not speak English. Not used to people asking for pictures with him. It was
you get
no
one, though?
deal. But I got my picture with him.
Damn right you did.
It was a great picture.
Now, was this the E3 where the 3DS is tethered to beautiful women?
It was.
I remember that.
It was. Nintendo's
That was awesome.
booth was just filled with like 60 beautiful women with just 3DSs attached to them like umbilical cords.
Yeah.
And
remember
they just walk up to you and be like, do you want to play? I'm like, yeah, this is hella awkward. I wish this wasn't the scenario.
Do you remember, that was like, I mean, there's a lot of horribly awkward E3 moments, but I'll never forget that E3 press conference for Nintendo when it ended like, all right, now you can all play the 3DS, and all these women with them attached came out. You're like,
Yeah.
what the fuck? And they just went in the crowd and people are playing. I'm like,
That was the
what
whole
is going
thing.
on?
And remember, that was an E3. I was there with Alfredo. So filling the gaps in the stories there. But there were some, and they were fantastic.
Alfredo took-
I love Nintendo.
Did he meet a few booth babes?
I love Nintendo so much. E3 is a special thing. Nintendo's booth always a special thing.
So close. It's like 110 days away, I heard.
Fuck, I fucking hate E3.
fucking love E3.
So many announcements, so many games.
The press conference is the only good part.
B Tyler 411 says,
B-Ty!
hi. Since I was born in 2000 and the first console I outright owned was a Wii, yes, I'm young, I was wondering if back in 1997, when people saw Final Fantasy VII for the first time, did they think those graphics were quote unquote good?
Yes.
Or did they still think they look like shit, which they are?
People thought that I mean, Final Fantasy VII wasn't first seen in 1997, but the people did think that game was beautiful.
The FMVs were the big deal there.
But even the in-game stuff was, first of all, not all of it looks like shit. A lot of the rendered backgrounds and then the hand drawn, like the drawn backgrounds are actually still beautiful. I actually played Final Fantasy VII not too long ago. Now, when you're talking about character models and stuff like that, I mean, they look awful. But even then, I mean, they were impressive because we had never seen anything like that. But I've often said that the N64 PS1 era is really the one era that just in no way, shape, or form holds up graphically, unless you're talking about sprite-based stuff and stuff like that, which still look great. Final Fantasy Tactics, for instance, still looks fucking phenomenal. Obviously, Castlevania Symphony of the Night looks awesome still.
But jumping into 3D
it
was such a learning curve, and people did not know what they were doing.
It was absolutely jarring. But yes, at the time, I mean, as someone who bought Final Fantasy VII the day it came out, so you are a young man. Yes, it always looked beautiful, and it wasn't until years later that I realized it wasn't.
Yeah, and I think it especially was the cinematics that like gave that the beautiful level that it had, where people talked about the graphics of the game, solely talking about the cinematics.
Sure, and the summons and all that kind of stuff. It was interesting. Yeah.
So this Brash Candipoot here has a question that kind of follows up on that. I'm playing Resident Evil Remake Remaster on PlayStation 4 for the first time, going for the platinum. I'm amazed at how great the game looks and how well the atmosphere feels when playing. It made me think of pre-rendered backgrounds. Could it be implemented to a greater effect now, or is it a technique of its era? And Onimusha, anyone? piece. It's an interesting thing.
Yeah.
Because you think of like Final Fantasy in particular, and you're right. Final Fantasy 7, the backgrounds do look amazing, but the problem was since they were on like a game on CD and whatever, like they're so small. If the pre-rendered backgrounds were a lot bigger, it'd look great in 1080p or whatever.
No, I agree. I think that's an interesting question. I think that there probably isn't a place for that anymore because I think that was about technical limitations. Like, why would you need pre-rendered backgrounds now? That's the bigger question. Like, yes, Onimusha, beautiful game.
Devil May Cry,
beautiful game. But at the same time, like when you play Resident Evil 7, you realize why you don't need them anymore. Why you don't need tank controls anymore. Tank controls were a place in time. Also made the games more difficult, which made them scarier. But when I think about it today, I'm like, I'm not so sure that style, that 90s style, would really be needed today because I really do think that it was a design choice, but it was also relative to technical things as well.
Yeah, I think it's interesting to look at how games have grown and things that we've just become used to, like using the right stick to control a camera. When you play a game and can't control the camera, it feels very antiquated and
feels like you lost an arm.
Exactly. Like it totally feels off. And I think that, with pre-rendered, that's what it was. And you can't really think of a way to have a camera with the pre-rendered backgrounds because it's like a static image. But yeah, Onimusha looked incredible back in the day. And Devil May Cry, like the tone and atmosphere of that game is entirely owed to its pre-rendered backgrounds because you can have the coolest enemy designs possible running around, but like if it was just the polygons that you can imagine that being, it would not have had the same effect. So
yeah, it's interesting. I think that the only genre where that kind of stuff probably actually would work, and it probably still exists in some ways, maybe the adventure game genre, especially with static screens, obviously. But any game that requires locomotion around an environment, it's just very antiquated. It's the same reason why you just won't see certain design choices anymore. It's the same reason why FMV is not a thing anymore, really, because it's like you don't need it.
Yeah. 4999 says Greg Colin and the dude that helped save the Bandicoot, my man Tim Gettys. Did we talk about this, Colin? Crash Bandicoot coming out on my birthday?
I saw that. It's very strange.
Come the fuck on.
It is. That's profoundly strange.
It does not make sense.
Come the fuck on.
2017 has the likes of Mario, Zelda, Sonic, Yooka-Laylee, filling in for Banjo, and of course Crash himself returning for a new generation. So with that in mind, how important do you think gaming icons are today, and how important will they be in 10 years?
Well, they're always going to be important, but I think that the point here is the ones you're naming are cartoony from a different era, or at least harken from. I mean, obviously Yooka-Laylee's new, but harkens from a different era. Today we think we talk about Aloy as being really the next great PlayStation icon. While 20 years ago, well, not quite. Well, yeah, 20 years ago, I guess. Jesus. Crash. It would have been incomprehensible to be like, the guy from The Getaway. Is the icon, so it's a little different.
The guy from The Getaway.
I think it's
not that that's a PS1 game, but you understand.
Yeah, I think it's interesting that a lot of those characters are still iconic. Like, yeah, some of them went away, like Crash and whatever. I think Sonic still is iconic to video games. I think Mario is obviously iconic. I think that Pikachu is iconic, and I think that as we grow with all this stuff, I don't think there will ever be a time when you're discussing video games that these cartoony characters aren't immediately brought to mind.
Well, I mean, it's just because it's a statement on where games were. You know what I mean? It was a smaller pond. Now it's a huge ocean. It's so vast. You know what I mean? Like I got in an Uber yesterday, coming to work, and the guy I immediately noticed had a Mega Man plushie on his dashboard or whatever. And so, sure enough, we started talking about games at some point. I'm like, so what are you playing right now? And he leaned forward and went like this and pointed at the back, and there was a character and like words on it. I'm like, he's like, League of Legends. I'm like, I see. I don't fucking, there's no way.
You should have taken his Mega Man plushie and been like, you can't have this anymore, sir.
I'm sorry, you've lost privileges to this. That's the problem. There's just so much going on. It's so split up.
I mean, this is a different question than like who are the most iconic game characters and whatever. But like, it's interesting to think in 20 years from now, like, are people gonna think of Nathan Drake? I don't think so. I think Nathan Drake will be thought of the same way Dante from Devil May Cry is thought of. It's like, important, but not on the same level of Pac-Man,
Oh, yeah.
But even then, it's like, I do think Sonic will be there. I don't think Sonic's going to go away from being.
Well, I mean, part of it too is like.
He goes so fast, he can go so far away in that time.
But he'll be right back. He's just going to come right up behind you. But it's also, I think part of this is the things speak to kids and kids adopt those and go into it too. Like, I would never sit here and be like, oh, Minecraft Steve, he's a huge deal.
Yeah.
But when we were in Target, there's fucking shitloads of him everywhere. I'm sure to people, and I'm sure to the kids who are growing up playing Minecraft, a creeper in 20 years is going to be symbolic of video games because that's what they played and what they knew.
Yeah. Yeah, it's just interesting because it is the more mature characters, but like Master Chief, where's his place going to be in when people
Garbage
think
can where it belongs.
No, I don't think so.
What up, Killzone?
I don't think that Chief will ever have that same type of legacy as these characters. But I mean, but at the same time, I don't know. Like Chief's helmet is, I think, going to be an iconic thing.
I mean, a good example is Kratos. What is Kratos' legacy in terms of being a character and what people think of him as a mascot or whatever?
Yeah. Interesting thing to ponder. Lucid Dream has a very, very long question.
Oh, good.
It's a good one, though. Do you think the skill of the player has a significant impact on their ability to review a game or even enjoy it? Do you ever find yourself playing a certain game to challenge yourself? Which genres do you feel are the most reliant on skill? I find competitive multiplayer to be the most obvious demonstration of skill in the gaming realm, and I enjoy watching professional players compete, particularly in fighting games and sometimes Hearthstone. Do you enjoy watching competitive gaming? There's a lot of questions there.
A lot of questions.
But a lot of them have to do with, let's go back to the beginning, reviewing hard games.
Sure.
I reviewed a game once, what was it? Under Siege on PS3, which was like a turn-based strategy game that was fucking impossible. I think I'm good at that genre, and I think that a game shouldn't kick your ass a half an hour into it like that game did. They patched it actually to make it easier because it was fucking outrageous. So you encounter that kind of stuff every so often, but do I play games to challenge myself? Yeah, there's really very few like insurmountable challenges today in games, and I think that that's fine because you can also use sliders to make the games more hard. I mean, I fucked around a little bit with Horizon on very hard, and it's very hard. So it
lives up to the billing.
So it's it makes you play games differently, but
I mean, I think that, no, I don't think there should be a problem with the reviewer and skill level because I think the problem when you're talking about reviewing a game, unless you're a niche site, you're talking specifically to this person, that kind of idea. Like at IGN, right? Like I listen normal and I'd play the game and tell you my experience because I'm trying to appeal to the widest audience of this is what I got out of this game and these were my problems in this. And if something's fucking insanely hard and I had to dial the difficulty down to get past it or couldn't get past it or something like that, that would be a big part of the review, right? Yep. Or like, this is an issue for me, so it might be for you as well.
Yeah. I mean, I'm not very good at games, so I always start at normal. I'm not the type of guy that's going to push the difficulty up, but I've never had to review games in the way you guys have either, so I haven't had to think of it in that way. Like, I just say if I like the game or not and don't worry about the rest of it, right?
With everything else.
I think Neo is a good example where it's like, that game kicks my ass. I could never beat that game.
That game is really hard.
Could never fucking beat that game. But I enjoy playing it. But I also do not enjoy getting my ass kicked enough to dedicate the time to beat it. Because I do think that if I sat there and tried over time, if I played every night, I'm sure I could get through it. I'm not sure, actually.
You could brute force your way through the game statistically.
I could probably get through it. But it's like, that shit's hard. But I mean, there is something about that challenge and knowing that it's hard that I wouldn't review that game poorly for being hard. I would.
It's part of the equation.
Exactly. That's part of it. And that is the fun. And that is the thing that would grab me and that does make me want to play it, even though I'm not good at it. If it was easier, then it would be like, all right, this is just a hack and slash. What's the point?
Yeah.
Like the point is the hardness. Without the hardness, there's no game. There you go. Final question of the day. Colin, this is a you question. This is from Moogle the Sly. He says, what are the chances of Ni no Kuni 1 getting a remaster? Maybe bundled in as a pre-order bonus for 2 as some games have already done? Would like to play it, but don't know that I'll dust off the PS3 to do so.
Yeah, I'd be somewhat shocked if it wasn't available on PS4 before Ni no Kuni 2 came out because it's first of all, porting these games isn't a huge challenge. I think there's more games to be sold here in that respect, but also it sets the stage for the game was bigger than Namco Bandai I thought it was going to be, I'm sure, but I mean it definitely was. But you need context probably for why the sequel matters. So
what's old Drippy up to? Who's this guy?
So I feel like it's, I don't want to say likely. I mean, who knows? I'd be surprised though if it wasn't made available. It's similar. I hope they don't do a similar situation what UB did with South Park: Stick of Truth, where it was like kind of locked behind pre-orders for the next game. Like it would be a nice idea for them to, a few months before Ni no Kuni 2 comes out, be like the Ni no Kuni 1 available on PS4 for $20, and you'd probably sell a bunch of copies, and it's basically free money.
It is on PlayStation Now, so there you go.
Yeah, whatever.
There you go.
You
don't need to buy new games when you have PlayStation Now.
Ladies and gentlemen, this has been Kind of Funny Gamescast. Thank you very much for joining us. Until next week, I love you. What's up there? No. I was going to say, hey there. Then I said, what's up there? That was weird. Hey, anyways, you just watched some awesome piece of content over here on Kind of Funny Games. And when I say awesome, I mean it was probably okay. So you can click right here to subscribe to get way more okay content, or you can click here to get, more content from Kind of Funny, our other channel that's just as okay as this one, if not a little bit worse, because, we're pretty game-centric. I want to get that one better, though. Like, this one's beating it now on, subscribers, and, that's kind of sad to me. So, help people like me not be sad.